Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hey, happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lock Shop. Nielsen and Hustler back with you once again. It is Props and Parlay Saturday here with The Lock Shop, brought to you by our wonderful partners at Coolbet. If you're not yet signed up for an account at Coolbet, do so today. Just enter the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up. You get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. Huss, nice win last night in the Canadian Football League. It was looking good. I'm like, oh yeah, Riders, 14 points. The offense is moving. And then they didn't score a single point in the second half of that football game.
Yeah, I don't know even what to make of the Riders. I felt somewhat fortunate on that, but as I said on the Wednesday show, I just didn't really have a good feel on that game on either side for either team. So took the home team and maybe got a little fortunate. But hey, when you're picking every single game, there'll be a few games like that are looking good that go the other way and vice versa. So it was going to happen to one of us, I guess. Both of those teams stink. And the Riders, man, the Riders are 6-10 now on the season. I mean, they were what, 3-1, 4-1?
They were 4-1 or 4-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you believe that? Like, they have completely fallen off the rails.
But one thing that's good though, for the
trouble.
Canadian, I was about to say the one great thing for the CFL though with that result is playoff race on now for that spot. I mean, it really looked like it was almost you could just give the Riders the crossover a few weeks ago.
If they win that game, they had it locked, yeah.
That's not the case anymore, and now they are in some trouble because, of course, the tie goes to the team in the East right now. And they got a couple tough games, 2 against Calgary, still on the docket right now. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to this game tonight here in Winnipeg. You'll, of course, be on the call. And before that, where's your optimism level for the Jays to get this done today and get it to tomorrow?
Well, I guess the one positive thing they have going for them is they don't have to face Castillo again. My goodness, was that guy eating them up yesterday. Holy smokes. He was good.
What a deadline acquisition.
Man, what a pickup.
You know, they got him and signed him too. And then all of a sudden he's the ace of the staff. And that was just an absolutely dominating starting pitching performance. I mean, the Jays never really threatened. They had a couple guys on, but it was always with 2 outs. He'd get the big out and then walk off. And well, this is a fascinating pitching matchup this afternoon. I believe it's Gausman and Robbie Tightpants. So, I mean, like, Robbie Ray leaves, they replace him with Gausman, and now that is the matchup to keep their season alive and play for a deciding Game 3 to move on in the playoffs. It's going to be great theater this afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely terrific. All right, so here's what we got for you, Props and Parlay Saturday. We'll probably save the partner parlay to the end because I've got the request for our boost into Patty. Said to sit tight, so we might have that in about 15 minutes. So let's just – do you want to start player props or do you want to start with our other parlays, Seth?
Well, you know what? We can get into a couple of the player props.
Okay, let's do that.
For people that saw the show last week, they might be thinking, well, wait a second. Wait a second. Am I watching a replay? No, you're not. I'm rolling with the same 2 guys from last week. I said earlier, Damien Pierce, I've thrown him for a touchdown the last 2 weeks. He's come through. We spent a lot of time talking about this Houston-Jacksonville game. I think there'll be plenty of opportunities for teams to score. I like him to get in. And, you know, after going back-to-back at plus 125 and going against the Jags, he's only come down to plus 120. So I'm not sure whether people have been paying too much attention to Damien Pierce and the Houston Texans. We have here on the Lock Shop, though, and are looking to go 3 for 3. And then I was looking for my other pick. I went back to A.J. Brown last week, who, of course, we were fired up with the baby swag going up against Jacksonville. And I'm giving him a mulligan because that game was played in essentially a monsoon. There were so many weird things happening in the game. They ran the ball way more. It was just difficult to pass. And then you've got the Eagles going into Arizona to take on the Cards with some big, big questions in their defensive secondary. So I actually like A.J. Brown. It is plus money. I thought it might be a little higher, but still plus 103. This is a guy that's going to get into the end zone 10 to 12 times this season. I think this weekend is one of them. And if I'm getting plus money, I'm going to jump on those. So, yes, It's not it could be deja vu. We went 1 for 2 last week. Let's go 2 for 2 this week with our TD scores. And then I'm really into it. 2 weeks ago I had the Josh Allen 9-1 for the Sunday specials. And we've got the Sunday specials back up today. And I figured, this would be a great way to sort of get into and hopefully get another nice winner. Most passing yards this week. Here's what we're looking at. Tom Brady plus 750. Josh Allen 8-1. And I'll be honest, I was thinking about Josh Allen again. But
Not
Joe
a bad
Burrow,
spot, actually, you're right.
Joe Burrow at 10-1 is a really interesting number. Listen, Baltimore's secondary has been absolutely exposed in the second half of games so far this year. You think what Joe Burrow did last year against the Ravens, and that was absolutely torching them. Now, I realize some things are different, but this is a big divisional game. Cincinnati and Zach Taylor have had the upper hand on John Harbaugh over the last season. And here's the thing about the Ravens. They've done a lot of good things, and anyone that has Lamar Jackson on their fantasy team is loving it. But, they blew a 17-point lead to the Buffalo Bills and a 20-some point lead to the Miami Dolphins right now. They can't close, and they sure as hell are not very good playing with the lead right now. I do think that they're going to score plenty of points, though. So, to me, this is going to be a game that I think is going to rely on the arm of Joe Burrow. He's got his weapons ready to go. And win or lose, I do like them at plus 3.5. I think this will be a close game. I think Joe Burrow is going to have to air it out, take advantage of what the Ravens haven't been able to do, and that's stop other teams. So I'm going to drop a little sprinkle on him at 10-1 to have the most passing yards on Sunday. And then we're going to go back to A.J. Brown. I'm looking at the receiving yards. Cooper Kupp, obviously, always near the top of the list, plus 650. Jefferson, plus 750. You got Diggs at 9-1. And then Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, 16. Evans at 17. I think there's real value on A.J. Brown at 20. I think he could pop, and this is the sort of game that, he could have an absolutely monster game after a little bit of a quiet last couple of weeks. So, just comparing, thinking about the matchups, and I think Arizona might score some points, so I think that will force Philly to keep their foot on the gas. I don't expect Miles Sanders to go off like he did last week. I think A.J. Brown will be far more a focal point of the offense this week. So I'm going to nail a couple bucks down on him at 20-1 to be have the most passing yards this Sunday in the NFL.
I admire your resiliency to go back to A.J. Brown, buddy. And you're right on that TD number. I thought that'd be up around plus 110, plus 115. But it's sitting there at plus 103. But that's a show of respect for how good.
It's because they know it's going to happen.
Exactly.
They know it's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. After people watch this, it's going to be sitting at minus 110 by tomorrow morning. So watch for that. I got 3 touchdown scores for you. I think the Green Bay Packers overseas are going to make it look pretty easy against the New York Giants. Aaron Jones, it's only minus 120, but I really like his chances to get into the end zone early on Sunday morning. So I'm going to take Aaron Jones at minus 120. The other two guys I really like the value on. TJ Hawkins still sitting at plus 160. You know what was funny? Jared Goff last week, no Amon-Ra St. Brown, no DeAndre Swift, finished quarterback 1 in fantasy at over 30 points without his top 2 weapons. The guy's ridiculous this year. TJ Hawkinson at plus 160. Amon-Ra St. Brown practiced yesterday, I believe. Even if he does play, he's on a high ankle sprain here. I would be very surprised if he's heavily involved in the offense. And the only other option really throwing the ball right now is TJ Hawkinson. So TJ Hawkinson, we saw last week, and I said it going into Fantasy Football Extravaganza last week, that I thought it was starting to come with Goff and Hawkinson. They eliminated the other options. Obviously, there's a connection there. You're getting it at plus 160 in a game against the Patriots. I do think I like TJ Hawkinson to find his way into the end zone again for his 4th touchdown of the season. And then a little bit of a longer play, plus 210. But everybody loves Isaiah McKenzie. I think Buffalo's going to put up 35 points this week. No more Jamison Crowder in the slot. I think this is probably the most value you're going to find on McKenzie for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm on McKenzie here at plus 210 to be involved in the offense, find the end zone against the Pittsburgh Steelers, in which I said yesterday on our best bets, I expect the game to be an absolute runaway. And if that's the case, then maybe you don't have to rely on Stephon Diggs all the time either. If you're Josh Allen, you can mix it up and get some other guys in the mix. So I'm on Isaiah McKenzie plus 210 to round out my touchdown scores.
I love that play, Dusty, and I think this is exactly the sort of game where Josh can spread it around a little bit. Get a couple guys that might not be the normal go-to guys into the end zone. And I think Isaiah McKenzie has an opportunity to be a guy that not only catches a ton of balls and go over his number, but also get into the end zone. Just while you were mentioning that, talking about it, I was wondering what the Bills team total for this game is. It's at 30.5.
Over.
So, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Buffalo Bills are going to put up 31 or more. And it's just minus 109 on the over on that. The under is actually minus 112 right now. So if you do want another ad on the Bills offense, the team total of over 30.5 is staring you in the face right now when you go to coolbet.com.
I will be betting that the moment we wrap up this episode. I love them this week. All right, so there's your player props. We got touchdowns for Pierce and Brown and Jones and Hawkinson and McKenzie. And Huss is on Joe Burrow to lead Sunday in pass yards at 10-1. A.J. Brown receiving yards 20-1. That will bring us to our own parlays that we've kind of got locked and loaded here. Mine are minuscule. I'll have to make sure I read them very loudly because I had that 1-4 game that just didn't fit anywhere. So we'll get to that. Yeah, we got 6 parlays here for you. If you want to hop on one or two, feel free to do whatever you want. Remember, always stay cool. Bet responsibly with CoolBet. If you're going to do it, sign up using the code LOCKSHOP. Huss, where are you going this week? What do you got? Plus 408, well, plus 410?
You know what I've got, and I'll say this, I do have a couple. If you were riding with me on just the straight picks for the weekend, I got Bengals plus 3.5, Texans plus 7, Titans minus 2.5, Jets plus 3.5. I always parlay the picks, just wanting to, if you go 4-0, you're really hitting it. That's plus 1247. So that's out there. But yeah, working on a few numbers and tweak the lines a little bit on a couple of these. And we're going to do this a little bit more on the partner parlay coming up. But listen, Minnesota 7-point favorites against Chicago. I think that this is a game that the Vikes can, potentially run away with. But when we've seen what Minnesota's been doing lately, they can't get out of their own way sometimes. Incredibly prolific, moving the football. They've been horrible in the red zone. I mean, that was the reason why that game in London last week against the Saints was so damn close. They just kept kicking field goals. So we're going to take the 7 to 6.5, although I do like the Vikings to win by a touchdown. And then when we look at this Dallas Rams number, the Cowboys, and I know you talked about it with your selections. I mean, we're higher on the Cowboys, not so high on the Rams. But again, that 5.5 number is really, I mean, it doesn't really do you much good. So, this is
that's the best part. I love that over the last decade in sports gambling, the point where we got to where you have to pay for it, but you can get the number that you want and the number that you're comfortable with. I love this.
Yeah, and again, I probably don't do this on a regular bet. Take the Cowboys plus 7.5 at minus 164. But again, if we're trying to put 3 games together and give yourself the best chance to pull off a win with the multiplier being kind of the value in it, that's where I'm going. So I'm going to take the Cowboys plus 7.5. And that's moving that line 2 points as opposed to the half point in Minnesota. And then the other game that we've got to get on is the Lions. The Lions always cover when they're an underdog. Not so much as a favorite playing against a team like Seattle last week, as we saw. Right now, that game is at 3, and it's minus 105 for the Lions. I'm going to get it to plus 3.5 at minus 123. And again, that both of these teams, New England always plays overs at home. Detroit is the over machine right now. I do think there'll be points, but I like this one to be close. And New England on probably their third string quarterback, Jared Goff doing what he's doing. So anyways, plus 3.5 for Detroit, which is a minus 123. You put those together, we're getting more than 4-1 on that. So Minnesota minus 6.5, Dallas teased to 7.5, Detroit getting 3.5 plus 408. I always like to pick a couple underdogs, and it's always fun to put them together. This is a very slight play, but listen, I am on the Jets. I'm very worried. I will say this. They're down. They're deep into the depth chart at the tackle position. And I do know that Zach Wilson, if he's got to play on the run, he is prone to mistakes. But I kind of have a feeling that they're going to come up with some, they'll be ready for this divisional game against the Miami Dolphins. I like them to keep this close. I'm on them plus 3.5. But I could see them winning this football game. And listen, if we're going to take a couple big swings on a couple money, like let's take a couple home dogs. We've got the Jets money line, putting that together with the Cleveland Browns. And listen, I think there is a lot of sharp money on the Chargers. Chargers look way better last week, but if we've learned one thing about the Chargers, you never know what to expect one week to another. This is, a long trip, an early game for them. No Joey Bosa. They've got a number of injuries. Herbert is still dealing with stuff. And listen, the Cleveland Browns, for their part, if Myles Garrett's back, that's a huge, huge add because Atlanta, embarrassingly, they had 7 completions in the game and won. They were running for 9 yards a carry. Obviously, that has to stop. I expect Cleveland to be better stopping the run game. So I'm going to take a little sprinkle, put the Jets and Browns on a ticket, plus 110. Both of these teams just home dog wins on the money line. And then one total play with 3 games. We're going to go under Atlanta-Tampa, 46.5. I think that maybe the clock's striking 12. Put it this way. The Falcons had nothing passing-wise last week. Kyle Pitts, by the way, invisible.
Well, and he's out this week, so
he's got to be the biggest bust so far of the fantasy season for a guy that has actually been in the games. And Tampa, Tom Brady's getting his weapons back. I was thinking about maybe putting a spread on this. I'm just going to go under 46.5. I think that we're getting some regression right now from Atlanta's offense, and there's no way they're going to be able to run the football the way they did against Cleveland, against Tampa. Cleveland Clippers, Cleveland Chargers. We're going to go under 46.5. I think Cleveland's going to run the ball quite a bit. This could be one of those games where the clock's running quite often. And, the Chargers will get theirs, but I do think this will be a close game. I think it'll be the coaching will be a lot into it. Time management will be a big part of it. And I think that bodes well for under the total. And then, as I said, with the Lions have averaged going over the number by 30 points in every game so far this year. There's never been anything like it. And I think a lot of people probably are expecting this to be a low-scoring game just because of what the story with the New England offense is and the injuries in Detroit. Well, we thought that maybe was the case last week, and it certainly was not against the Seattle Seahawks. And New England, I want to say in their last 4 or 5 games, I believe, have gone over the total at home as well. So give me the over 45.5 in those games. So we're going to take 3 totals together. Atlanta, Tampa, under 46.5. Chargers, Browns, under 46.5. Lions, Patriots, over 45.5. Put those together at plus 612.
All right, I've got 3 for you. I've also got the number that's come in for our boosted partner parlay, so we'll have that at the end of the episode. I just want to knock it in right now before I forget. Let me just put that in there, and we're good. And once again, it's a nice little boost from our partners over at CoolBet. That's great. All right, so partner parlay coming up. Let's dive into this. I've got a 3-game road favorite money line. It gets just above 2-1. San Francisco is a game that we haven't really talked about at all. I think the Panthers are a god-awful mess right now. So the Niners, they're a 6.5-point favorite. I'm going to throw them on this money line parlay. I think we like the Eagles this week against the Cardinals. Maybe not at the 5.5, but to just go into Arizona and win. I like that. And then Miami and the Jets is going to be an interesting game for us this week because we're head-to-head doing the best bets. We're all over it here. So that's a game that the Lock Shop's really going to be focused on. I'm going to throw Miami money line on this. That gets you 2-1. And then I took the 3 biggest favorites this week and bought points, moved them down to numbers that I'm very comfortable with, and it ends up being plus 303. So Green Bay minus 6.5 against the Giants. That number's at 8.5, so I brought that down a couple of points. I moved Tampa, who's at 10, all the way down to 6.5, and then I moved Buffalo, who's at 14, down to 9.5. So I've got it down below those key numbers. That's going to pay plus 303, and then I adjusted some totals as well to get to a plus 503 parlay here. And I like this one. Detroit and New England over 40.5, playing it safe there. Dallas and the Rams under 46.5. I think that'll be a kind of a defensive battle in Los Angeles. Atlanta, Tampa bumped it up to 49.5, took the under. I could see Tampa winning that game 35-10, and you're still going to be okay in that situation. And then I took Chicago at Minnesota under 47.5, mostly because, and we moved that up as well, I don't think Chicago's going to generate anything offensively, and I don't think the Vikings offense this year has been good enough to put up 30. So I think that one's going to settle in nicely as well. And when it's all said and done after, just these totals, to some pretty comfortable spots, it's paying 5-1, which I really like. So there's a few options for you. We got them all over the place. We've got like every different type of parlay that you can possibly have outside of what's the betting, and you can put it all together, the game. How come I'm blanking here? Bet Builder. Outside the bet builders, we got everything covered here. So,
well, and of course with the bet builder, I mean, you just go in, pick the game that you're going to be focusing in on, throw a few picks in together, and create your own. And if you haven't done that before, and you get a cool bet, just click on the game, and then you'll see in the options bet builder, and you can pop in, some players, some touchdowns, total, side, whatever you want, and you'll get your own number from Coolbet on your personally curated wager for the same game parlay, aka the bet builder.
All right, let's dive into our partner parlay, which is paying plus 460. And there's 3 games that we like. We've adjusted each of the totals here. Huss, you lay it out here with the Vikings, buddy.
All right. Well, listen, this is as much a bet against the Bears.
Yeah.
But the Vikes are 3-1. And I think we haven't even scratched the surface of what this team is capable of if they can, be a little bit more efficient in the red zone.
It's kind of a lackluster 3-1, isn't it?
For sure. I mean, listen, they had the big win against Green Bay in week 1 for sure. But I mean, they could easily be 1-3. Like, they had no business beating Detroit. I mean, Detroit really handed that game over to them in the fourth quarter. And the game against the Saints, they should have won by 17. And yet there they were, sweating out a double doink on the final play of the game by Will Lutz, who had just kicked the 60-yarder to get it to OT. I think this is a real get-right game for the Vikings coming back home after that trip out to Europe. And as far as the Chicago Bears go, Dusty, I mean, this is looking like a historically inept offense. And I don't know what to make of Justin Fields. I know there was a lot of hype, a lot of excitement for him. I'm not sure whether this is the system that they have established, the lack of weapons that they've surrounded him with, or what. But the Bears offense, plain and simple, doesn't scare anybody. I think Minnesota romps in this game. The number's at 7. I think, again, we've just been talking about this, especially for the parlay purposes. Don't mind taking a little bit of a haircut to get it to 6.5 because, as I said, this could be a 1-score game. I like Minnesota, though. I think they win by double digits, but we're going to throw Vikings minus 6.5 onto the partner parlay.
And look, I laid it out on our best bets. I've gone back to it again today. I like Philly. I don't think Arizona can keep up with them offensively, and I don't think Arizona can stop them defensively. So I got them on the best bets at, 5? I think it was 4.5 by the time we actually finished the episode yesterday. Yeah. Moved this down to 2.5. I love them to win this game by at least a field goal. So this was a no-brainer for me. And then we also came together on the Bills. It was sitting at 14. We moved it down to 13.5 just in case this game ends at 14. The partner parlay will still hit at plus 460. We've talked about so many reasons why would this not be a blowout? Tell me how this doesn't end up being a blowout. Kenny Pickett, they're not familiar with him, and he somehow has a great game.
Kenny Pickett shows up in Buffalo and blows people away with an incredible performance as a huge underdog on the road in maybe the toughest place to play. Although, if you look at what the Bills did last year at home to rookie quarterbacks, it was one massacre after another. And listen, I know Mike Tomlin. I'm a Tomlin guy. He's Mr. Tough Guy. He's throwing Kenny Pickett to the Wolves this weekend. And you know what? You'll learn some tough lessons. You'll pick yourself up, and it's not going to get harder than it is in his first legit start going into Buffalo as the guy leading the Steelers in there. So I'm pretty comfortable on the Bills. As I said, I'm going to get on that team total over 30.5 as well. And we'll see whether Kenny Pickett can, get him into the end zone a couple times. I mean, maybe there's a bit of garbage time. Bottom line is, though, Bills should run away with this game. And I think that they do it early, considering the way they started last week and had to come back from a 17-point deficit in the second half to the Ravens the way they did.
All right, so there you go. That's Prop and Parlay Saturday with the Lock Shop. Here's the schedule for the next couple of days. Obviously, Sunday, sit down, enjoy your football. I mean, if you haven't listened to this episode or best bets, you can get into those Sunday morning. That'll be there for you on the podcast feed. On Thanksgiving Monday, there is a Monday nighter, obviously. We'll bang out our regular Monday night Lock Shop and watch on Monday for our NHL futures preview a couple days before the season begins. We'll have that for you, give you about 24 to 48 hours to lock in all of those NHL plays as well. So, Huss, lots going on here over the next couple of days, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, did we what was the number on that on the partner parlay, by the way?
It was plus 460. It was originally plus 398, and it's plus 460. So,
Patty, taking care of the fellas today. Folks,
yeah, if you bet it yourself, it's plus 398. If you go, and it'll be posted shortly, we'll tweet it out when it's up. If you go and find it on the exclusives, Partner Parlay, you're getting that plus 460 boost. So
it's already up. It's up as we speak. I'm pressing click. Our boys at the book work very, very quickly. So there it is. Lock Shop Partner Parlay. Vikings minus 6.5. Bills minus 13.5. Eagles minus 2.5. Plus 460. To quote Russell Wilson, let's ride.
We'll talk to you Monday, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving.